Hey, Shalom, brothers. Yahweh Bashim Yashai Barakatah. Bashem Rakakwadash. It's another episode of the Daily Edification, the Daily Exhortation. Of course, I'm here. We're on our way back. I'm here with Apostle Elder Tahar and the rest of the...
Shalom.
You just heard him say Shalom. You heard the Apostle Elder Ramlam.
ADV. Always doing videos.
Always doing videos. Yeah, the purpose of this video is... got a lot of guys who come on the comment board and they say, why don't you guys go to the hood? Why don't you guys go to the hood? Well, if you watched the live show today, we were in the hood. Okay, we were in the hood with all the hood glory, all right?
Knee deep.
Yeah, we're knee deep in the hood. Okay, 110th Street in Manhattan, all right? And you know, what proved it, if you watched the video, you had dudes on their bikes driving by with their sound system. That's something you commonly see in the hood, you know. And most of all, you had our people. You had one guy who came up and he had all kind of philosophies, and we had to deal with him. You had one sister.
And ultimately, he was cool.
No, he was cool.
I ain't had no hate for the guy.
Yeah, he was cool. He was cool. You know, it was cordial. Earlier, you had a sister. She came up. You know, she was wearing the Israelite garb. We dealt with her. Her thing was, you know, we got to fight to get a better piece of the pie in this system. But we explained to the sister, look, this society is going to be destroyed. You know, the scriptures clearly say the fashion of this world shall pass away, and that's the belief that we have. You know, again in 2 Peter it says we look forward to new heavens and new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. So that's what we're visionaries, all right? The men of the Lord were visionaries, and you could say that we see the future according to the Holy Scriptures. So, you know, we're trying to explain to her, look, forget about this society. The next society is where we're going to get our piece of the pie, so to speak. You know, the kingdom. So the point I want to make is we were in the hood and we had to deal with...
we ain't the Jeffersons, man. We
Yeah, that's right.
And we going to get our piece. We going to get the whole pie in the kingdom.
In the kingdom. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to explain to that sister. Those of you that saw the live show, you know what we're talking about. But the point is, brothers, those guys that say, well, you guys don't go to the hood. Now what you got to say, man? We was up in the hood today. We were out there for 2 hours, almost 3 hours.
Jake is going to give you their 1,000,001 philosophies, man.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you what to do. They come like they teachers, you know?
Yeah. And that's what you commonly see in the hood. We were out there, as a matter of fact, we were out there for 2 hours and 42 minutes, almost 3 hours. So, you know,
And the beautiful thing was we had a lot of so-called Hamites. And one guy, I believe he was Ethiopian, he got offended. He said, why am I not on the side?
Yeah.
So we told him, look, you can be an Israelite too.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
Hey, because Israelites, the scriptures, there's plenty of scriptures that tell you that we were scattered, man.
Mm-hmm.
We were dispersed.
Yeah. And the guy was real happy when we included him in. And he was a Jake. We weren't trying to blow smoke up his ass. He was a Jake. He was a Jake. Then there was this other dude.
Yeah, from Senegal.
From Senegal, yeah.
Oh, he was real happy to see us, man.
Yeah. So really, that's a message to you, Zabak. Zabak.
You know, well, IUIC.
And IUIC.
IUIC can't believe that Jakes came from Africa when if all the IUIC, not necessarily knocking the IUIC or knocking Zabak, but you guys got to get your goddamn game up, man.
For
this
real,
ain't 1992.
That's it.
You know?
That's it. Hey, is it not written we're supposed to grow in the knowledge and wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai? Is that not written? You guys are not growing. That's why I called Zabak. That's why I called you the toad, man. You're being stubborn, man. We're supposed to grow in this knowledge. Okay? This knowledge.
We love you, Zabak.
Yeah.
You know, we love you because you out there, you out there pushing Israel.
Yep.
But you gotta drop
grow.
that Hamitic shit, man.
Yeah.
And don't. If any of you Jakes in Israel took a DNA test, guess where your lineage will take you back to? It'll take you right back to West Africa.
That's true.
You know.
That's true. And what about the book of Revelation 5 and 9, where it clearly says the Lord is going to gather His elect from all nations? Okay. You got a precept? You got something you want to say, Apostle Elder Ramlam?
No, I was trying to find.
You're just looking at something.
Yeah.
If you want to say a few words, brother.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we're back. We the phone. You know, the screenshot recorder, if you're not active with the phone, it shuts off, and then you got to start it over again. Now, I believe Elder Apostle Ramlav has something he wanted to say.
God, this is Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 7. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. You know, so, you know, you go to the hood, you know, a lot of times you waste your time unless you just go in there just for edification. But a lot of times you waste your time because Jake really ain't going to listen. You know, and they're going to offer their opinions. They're going to offer, you know, their thoughts, you know, and interpretations. And they're not really going to listen to what you're saying.
Just like we saw today.
God.
You know,
and there was nothing wrong with that because we play off of it anyway for edification's sake.
For edification's
sake. We still got the word out.
Yes,
you got to know how to. Hey, you be around Jake, brother, and you ain't experiencing this thing. You gonna get frustrated with Jake.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with Jake, you play with him. You outdo him with your words.
Yeah.
Hey, the scripture say, "Be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove."
Yeah.
So you got to over talk them with your words, but you got to do it in a kind fashion.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like jumping rope. You got to feel their rhythm, and you got to know when to come.
Feel Jake's rhythm.
Yeah, know when to come in, know when to pull back.
Yep.
Because
know
Jake.
When to hold him, know when to fold.
Know when.
Right.
Yeah.
I know when to counter pull.
Yeah, because Jake is extremely emotional.
Yep.
That's one thing about Jake. They're extremely emotional. They got more emotions than brains.
You got to count all your money when you're sitting at the table.
Yeah.
That's
right. Till the dealing's done.
Yeah, I met that guy brother years ago.
Kenny Rogers. Yeah. I think he's a Jake, man. He's a
he
Jake,
was all
man.
happy and smiley. I met him at
not
JFK, LaGuardia.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about music back then. There was a lesson to the songs, and you could actually learn from them. Unlike the songs of today, you know. Well, that goes back to the prophecy: the daughters of music shall be brought low. You brothers know that. So, anything more you want to say?
I just first verse real quick. It says, "Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel."
Mm-hmm.
So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. And he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them.
Yep.
You know, and that's pretty much what we're supposed to do. You know, just tell Jake what's going on, and if they accept it, they accept it. If they don't, they don't.
And like we told the dude, you know, which we were cordial with him. He came up. We told him, look, it's all about the elect. The Lord is looking for the elect. You know, when Yahushua comes back, who's he going to gather? He's going to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. So Zabak, and you guys should listen, man. Zabak and ISUPK, you know, you guys that have that 1992 mentality of all the Israelites got to be from the hood, and they all got to look like Shaft. They all got to be straight up Negroes. You got to come out of that nonsense, man. The scriptures say the Lord's elect is scattered over the four corners of the earth.
Yeah.
So you got to know they're not all going to look like Negroes.
I got this precept right here.
Yeah.
Genesis 49, and you can start from 6.
This is the book of Jeremiah 49, verse 6. It says, O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. Mine honor, be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, in their self-will they digged down a wall.
That's talking about Levi and Simeon. Go ahead.
Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
The main point was I will divide them I will divide them among the tribes. You know?
I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
Right, and I was talking about Simeon and Levi. So you're going to have Simeonites among the Gadites. You're going to have Gadites among Judites.
Yeah.
You know, the Simeonite, the people in Santo Domingo, a lot of them are Judites.
Yeah.
Because them first slave ships, they shipped them right to the DR, man. So a lot of them are Judites. They don't want to accept that shit.
Check that out.
You know? But a lot of them is Judites. And I was watching this one video that that Howard put up of this Haitian lady in Haiti that her 2 kids were dying, so she was begging and pleading in fluent Spanish. So the lady asked her, you know, what's your nationality? She said she Haitian, but she was speaking fluent Spanish. I mean, fluent, not no broken Spanish, fluent Spanish. So you have a lot of Levites that live among the so-called Dominicans, a lot of Dominicans that lived among the Levites, or the so-called Haitians.
They live on the same island too.
Yeah.
They said a desert separates both of them.
Yep, that's right. That's
Desert,
right.
yeah.
Yep. Then you got Isaiah 11, where it tells you about the diaspora. Somebody can go to that real quick.
Okay.
So when you guys look during the time of Vespasian and Titus, when the Lord told them to flee, where the fuck did you think they fled to? They fled into Africa, man.
Yeah.
They fled wherever they can go. Some of them fled into Europe.
Yep.
A lot of them fled into Africa, man. You have more. You probably have more Israelites in Africa than you do Africa. And what made Africa great? Israelites.
Israelites, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys, where you from? Where you from? You from Mali? You a Hamite.
Yeah, you gotta
Well,
stop
you
that,
ain't
man.
on no level to be teaching, man.
Yeah. You had Israelites that fled the far east. Japan, China.
They're scattered literally throughout the whole planet, man.
Yeah.
They act as if Israel's only scattered in America.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Some of the first samurais were described as looking like Negroes. The samurais of Japan.
Yeah, well, Musashi Miyamoto looked like every Negro's uncle.
Look at that. So you guys got to stop it, man. The Lord is using us to warn you. You can't be teaching. Look, Revelation 5 and 9. The elect is scattered among all nations.
Not just the elect, all of Israel.
Yeah, all of Israel. But,
You're going to have Israelites coming out of China looking just like Moabites, man.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy Manny Pacquiao, he's a Jake. He's an impish Jake, but he's a Jake.
He's a Jake.
And Koreans, they Jake.
Korean.
Oh,
Oh, well, they got this thing
Good amount.
up in New York. It's called K-pop.
Yep.
Where you got Americans all into K-pop.
Yep.
And I was watching this one video of these Korean chicks. They were sounding just like fucking nigga women, man. And they were moving like Jake women.
And they fine.
But what
And
about
they were
all?
looking good.
What about all the soldiers, the American GIs that were over there in
Jake
Korea?
gonna lead they motherfucking seed,
Yeah.
man.
Vietnam.
You gonna tell me they didn't pop the Korean
Oh,
women?
they were popping the hell out of them, just like they were popping the Vietnam woman. The Vietnamese woman.
You have Laotians.
Yeah, the Laotians,
So Jake, man, you got
Cambodians.
Jake.
Cambodians.
Vietnamese.
I used to deal with this chick from damn, where the fuck is she from? Shit. It's near Cambodia,
Laos.
not Laos. Damn boy. And she was nothing but the nigga woman. She was nothing but the nigga woman, man.
Yeah, the Armenians. You always talk about the Armenians. You know, the Armenians.
Yep.
A lot of them are Jakes. So the point is, what is the point? Israel is scattered all over the planet Earth.
As Richard Pryor would say, there ain't no point to be made.
Israel is scattered all over the planet Earth, and the elect are going to be taken from the
She
four
from
corners.
Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Indonesia, the bitch was a fucking nigga woman, man.
Mhm.
She did everything a nigga. This is before I came to the truth. So she said she from Indonesia. I thought it was like Indonesia, Alabama, some goddamn where. You know, I thought it was some place in America. She acted just like the nigga woman, man.
Yeah. There you go. You got something?
Yep. Isaiah 11 and 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign to the people, to which shall the Gentiles seek.
The
And
Gentiles and Israelites that goes hand in hand with Isaiah the 14th chapter. The strangers shall cleave unto them. The same thing. Go ahead.
and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time
Excuse me.
to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from
What? Egyptians?
Egypt.
Where you from, brother? I'm from Egypt. You are Hamite. No. Yeah, Israelites living in Egypt.
Now wait a minute. Are they all going to look like Shaft? Are they all going to look like Negroes? So-called Negroes?
Some of them are gonna look like Manute Bo.
So you guys gotta smarten up, man.
Smarten up
and from
Smart enough.
Pathros, and from Cush,
Come on, from Cush.
Oh, Cush.
We saw that earlier today.
Cush.
and from Elam,
You got the Eritreans, a lot of them Eritreans, some of them are Jakes. They're
So
from Cush.
Nipsey Hussle could be an Israelite.
He could be.
He may or may not be an Israelite.
Could be.
and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
There it is.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
So
What is
come
the
on,
four
man.
corners of the earth? North, south, east, and west.
Yep.
So come on, man. You think they're all gonna look like so-called Negroes, man, from 125th Street?
No, of course.
Come on, man. But that's basically it. You know, that was pretty much the message. You know, we went to the hood. So those of you guys that say, "Oh, why don't you guys go to the hood?" Now, what do you got to say?
Going to the hood give you a headache, man. 'cause
Yeah,
Jake,
we're all tired.
Jake want to be a Jake want to be a teacher. How you going to teach the professor? We the professor, man. On that guy that said that, Zuma Nelson, that dude's a damn Jake.
Oh yeah, Zuma Nelson. Yeah,
We used
yeah.
to think he was the hammer. He was a Jake. That's why he said, "How you going to teach the professor?"
Yeah.
That dude fight his ass off too, man.
Oh yeah. Come. All right. So with that, like Elder Pastor always says, on to the next one.
On to the next one. It's ADV.
So you guys are just, you want to go to the hood? You ain't got nothing to say now.
Why don't you go to the hood?
Why don't you go to the hood?
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Braka Tum. So, you know, there you have it. The apostles of Great Millstone went into the hood to teach. So now all these bootleg camps have nothing to say. Why don't you go to the ghetto? Well, we done that. So you have nothing more to say. You can't come up on us like that, you know. And, you know, other things going on. Well, we see Isaiah chapter 17. Well, we see a lot of prophecies going up, but in particularly Isaiah chapter 17, that at the same time while Israel, because Ephraim is another term for Israel, if you really think about it, because the northern and southern kingdom, we're here now, we're being pretty much, we're in the same terrorist refugee camps as they're doing in Syria, the same they're doing as ICE. ICE and ISIS are the same thing. So pretty much, though, you don't hear about the concentration camps in Syria by the U.S. coalition, but, you know, what's kind of funny is that other fuckface Last American Vagabond, who brings out a lot of truth, brought that up, so I just found the resources where he went to, because, again, that piece of shit gave me a strike, and I don't want any more strikes for using this material, but I can certainly take the information and re-share it. So, concentration camps in Syria, just like they are, you know, along the borders, ICE and ISIS are one and the same. Same terrorists, same Edomites.
К другим темам. Организация Объединенных Наций бьет тревогу. Согласно последнему заявлению ЮНИСЕФ, в Сирии из-за холодной погоды за месяц погибли по меньшей мере 15 детей. Уточняется, что все трагические случаи произошли на неподконтрольных правительству территориях.
Все 15 погибших – беженцы, большая часть совсем младенцы, не старше 1 года, а причины смерти – слишком холодная погода, вкупе с пещерными условиями жизни в лагерях. Заявление ЮНИСЕФ, опубликованное во вторник, как всегда, никому конкретно не обращено. Исправлять ситуацию должны пока все стороны.
Жизни детей обрываются из-за болезней, которые можно было предупредить и вылечить. В 21 веке такому нет оправдания.
80 погибших детей – это юные жители лагеря Рукбан на границе Сирии и Иордании. Он находится на территории подконтрольной сирийской оппозиции, но по факту заправляют здесь США. Лагерь попадает в так называемую зону безопасности вокруг военной базы американцев Эд-Танф. Сами беженцы называют Рукбан не иначе как адом на земле. Вот уже несколько лет порядка 50 тысяч человек, большая часть женщины и дети, вынуждены ютиться в тонких матерчатых палатках без элементарных удобств. Люди гибнут от голода и болезней. По данным российского Минобороны, здесь процветают воровство, проституция. Отмечены случаи продуктового рабства. Гуманитарную помощь в лагерь поставляют, но, по словам его обитателей, до них она зачастую не доходит. Известно, что в Рукбане, помимо обычных беженцев, находятся и члены вооруженных формирований, которые поддерживают Соединенные Штаты. Их численность, по некоторым данным, может достигать 6 тысяч человек. Сирийские эксперты предполагают, что именно у боевиков оседает продовольствие и лекарства.
Эти боевики, они себе забирают полностью, и они контролируют распределение гуманитарной вообще помощи. Американцы говорят, мы защищаем детей, но, по сути дела, они таким образом создали как будто аналог концлагеря, который был в слове концлагеря, которые были во Второй мировой войне.
Еще 7 детей, по информации ЮНИСЕФ, погибли на востоке страны. Они были в числе группы беженцев из Хаджина, это район Дейр-эз-Зора. Отсюда остатки террористических группировок пытались выбить отряды сирийских демократических сил. Под предлогом помощи им Хаджин утюжила авиация западной коалиции. Исход людей из осажденного города совпал с периодом аномальных холодов.
В Сирии в этом году очень холодная зима оказалась. И проливные дожди, что не характерно естественно, для этих районов. И помимо всего прочего, там всего лишь, представьте себе, что днем была температура 11 градусов в течение 2 недель, а ночью температура опускается еще на несколько градусов, то, в общем, ничего удивительного.
Специалисты отмечают, что в целом ситуация с беженцами в Сирии улучшается. На подконтрольных правительству территориях постепенно восстанавливается инфраструктура, налаживается работа государственных служб. По итогам 2018 года в свои дома вернулись более 1,5 миллиона сирийцев.
Увы, проанализировать погоду непосредственно на востоке страны и в районе лагеря Рукбан мы не можем. Метеоданные оттуда не поступают в международный обмен. Однако достаточно взглянуть на показания метеостанции в Дамаске и становится ясно. Эта зима в Сирии действительно аномальная. Среднемесячная температура января в рамках средних многолетних значений. Но при этом минимальная на уровне рекордной. Представьте, столбики термометров опускались ниже отметки минус 2 градуса. Хотя здесь даже слабые заморозки – это большая редкость. Страна уже пережила 3 арктических вторжения. Сейчас продолжается 4-е. Дамаск, например, даже снегом завалило. На интерактивной карте видно, что большая часть Сирии в эти выходные остается во власти холода. Воздух с севера сюда гонит циклон, кружащий над Средней Азией. Однако в ближайшие дни этот вихрь уйдет к верховьям Иртыша, и на Ближний Восток станет поступать тепло из Аравии. В субботу, в воскресенье в Дейр-эз-Зоре плюс 11-12, в понедельник арктическое вторжение выйдет на пик, днем не выше плюс 10. Но к середине недели температура начнет повышаться, в среду до плюс 15. Это на 3 градуса выше средних многолетних значений.
And there's more. Got that from the same channel, so take a look at this. So again, these same bastards are doing the same thing. Why do you think Trump and the wall and all our people are being held in concentration camps and then they're putting microchips in our people, man? That's what's happening, you know, and you can't be ignorant to this, man. It's happening. The prophecy says, at the same time, the fortress shall cease from Ephraim, which I believe, you know, as you get right down to it, that means all of Israel, the same thing will be happening. Will be put in concentration camps. It's already happening to the northern kingdom, which is what Ephraim represents. So the fortress shall also cease from Ephraim. And the day that Damascus ceases from becoming a city and becoming a ruined heap, within that same day and that same hour, you know, these concentration camps, these refugee camps, they're microchipping people, forcing people to take the mark. And that's about the same time that Damascus is destroyed, as well as Babylon.
Лагерь Рукбан, где удерживаются в заложниках больше 40 тысяч мирных сирийцев, скоро останется без воды. Иорданское водохранилище, которое снабжает эту часть пустыни, мелеет. Теперь уже на эвакуации настаивают не только сирийские и российские наблюдатели, но и иорданцы. Печально известный лагерь расположен на территории, оккупированной американскими частями, но представители США отказываются решать проблему Рукбана. Репортаж Александра Руденко.
Переговоры проходят вот в этой относительно небольшой палатке, которую развернули в самом центре сирийской пустыни. Вход с оружием внутрь категорически запрещен. Ждут здесь сегодня представителей ООН, шейхов племен из лагеря беженцев Рукбан, представителей сирийских властей, Российского центра по примирению враждующих сторон. Ну а это место представителей США, американских военных, которые уже 2 раза игнорировали подобные встречи. Повторилось все и сегодня. Американцы не приехали, а встречу предложили перенести в столицу Иордании Амман. В Российском центре примирения сторон уверены, Соединенные Штаты просто тянут время, не желая решать проблему Рукбана.
Только за прошедшую неделю мы дважды направляли американской стороне приглашение на участие в координационном совещании. Нами был получен ответ от командования Международной антитеррористической коалиции, что выходу никто не препятствует.
За почти 5 лет существования Рукбан превратился в концлагерь. Город с населением около 50 тысяч человек. С процветающим бандитизмом, проституцией, высочайшей детской смертностью и тотальным голодом. Все это подтверждают люди, чудом сбежавшие из лагеря накануне.
Дети умирали от голода каждый день. Медицинской помощи нет, лекарств нет.
Рукбан, по сути, живой щит, прикрываясь которым на большой территории удалось развернуть около 10 тренировочных лагерей боевиков. Террористы бежать из оккупированного региона мирным жителям не дают.
Вчера в лагере были убиты мужчина и его жена просто за то, что они сказали: «Сирия — это наш дом, и мы хотим вернуться домой». Эти люди были убиты боевиками.
Въезд на оккупированную территорию военные США разрешают только представителям ООН. Содействие от Организации Объединенных Наций на встрече попросили все стороны. 9 апреля встреча повторится. Александр Руденко, Михаил Виткин, Игорь Вологдин. Вести, Сирия.
And that's just it, though, is you know as well as I do that you don't hear this at all. And then, of course, you have this, the U.S. Stealing, well, actually UK, but it's still the beast. Nonetheless, though, it's under U.S. policies, though, that they seized an Iran tanker.
Political commentator Jamal Wakim says the UK seizure of a ship carrying Iranian oil seeks to force Tehran to comply with American policies in the Middle East.
Raise in the tension and would lead to the raise of the tension in the region on one hand, and this is part of stepping up the pressures exerted by the United States and its allies, Western allies, on Iran in order to force Iran to comply with American policies in the region, in the Middle East. So I believe that this is part of this whole policy. Of course, I don't believe that passing through Gibraltar would be considered as passing in territorial waters under British sovereignty, because we know that Gibraltar is under British sovereignty. But in spite of this, this is an international, let's say, it's an international path, maritime path, and it's part or it's under international law. So the British Navy doesn't have any right to stop the vessel.
That's right, they don't. And so we're going to take a good look here because GMS Las Vegas has more on the recent sinking of a U.S. sub after the U.S. sub had attacked Russia.
Hey, Shalom, Wakim, Shalom, Call Halal, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushua, Bashim, Kakadash. I'm saying double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I'm saying much peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing the word sincerity and truth. This is Brother Ariala. This is just a quick World War III algorithm update. There's been several little things in the news, and I just wanted to kind of cover them real quick. Definitely the propaganda against Iran is heating up. Right now you have a situation where a oil tanker off the coast of Gibraltar over there in Spain, in those waters in the Mediterranean, large oil tanker, Iranian oil tanker, was reportedly on its way to Syria and has been seized. It was seized by the UK Navy, Royal Guard, and right now Iran is pretty upset by that. They want their oil tanker, and so we're gonna see what happens with that. Also, there's just ongoing attacks from the state of Israel, and so I wanted to play a couple of news clips just to bring brothers up to date. Things are getting heated up more than usual, so this is definitely interesting. We've been having all types of geopolitical events, and this is an exciting time as far as prophecy goes. I'm going to start with this in Isaiah chapter 13 verse 2. It says, "Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty." "Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pains as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flame." So the Most High is gathering all these nations together for battle, and when you read down in here, like if you skip down, let me find one point. When you skip down in this thing, you can read verse 19. It says, "In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah." Okay, so there's going to be a great flame. There's going to be a great fire set upon these nations, man. And Babylon the Great, mystery Babylon, which is America, is going to be caught in that flame. Russia right now is reportedly, gearing up to battle back against the United States. And so I want to play a news clip that kind of touches in on that and talks about that. Okay. Let me see. I'll play this right here.
Why are top officials in both the United States and Russia suddenly being pulled into emergency meetings? At this moment, rumors are flying all over the internet, and we have very little solid information about what is really going on. Now, in this article, I will share what we know so far, but as we learn more, the picture will inevitably become a lot clearer. On Tuesday, President Trump didn't have any public events scheduled, and that was a bit strange. But Vice President Mike Pence was supposed to appear at an event in New Hampshire. Unfortunately, that trip was suddenly cancelled after Pence had already boarded the plane, and Pence was ordered to return to the White House. In the immediate aftermath of his abrupt cancellation of an event in New Hampshire, the reasons for Vice President Mike Pence's reversal are still unknown. The White House has stayed mum on why Pence was called back to the White House, declining to elaborate at all on the reason for the change of plans. "I cannot recall the last time something like this happened. According to a top Pence aide, we will know the reason why the trip was cancelled in a few weeks." Now, what in the world does that mean? Why did President Trump need to meet with Mike Pence so urgently? Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin called an urgent meeting with his top military officials on Tuesday, hours after 14 sailors died in a mystery submarine blast. The Russian leader canceled his schedule for a meeting with his defense minister, Sergei Shoigu. If the story about a mystery submarine blast is accurate, then this sudden gathering makes sense. Here is more about this incident from Time magazine. Fire broke out on one of the Russian Navy's deep-sea research submersibles, and toxic fumes from the blaze killed 14 sailors aboard, Russia's defense ministry said Tuesday, although it released few details about the disaster or the vessel involved. The defense ministry did not say how many sailors were aboard the vessel during Monday's fire, whether there were any survivors, or if it was submerged at the time. But Russian media reported it was the country's most secret submersible, a nuclear-powered vessel designed for sensitive missions at great depths. But could it be possible that there's something additional that we aren't being told? This is where it gets very strange.
Now, check this out, okay? So, one of, if not the most secretive and probably one of the most advanced submarines that Russia has suddenly just catches fire. Very strange. So bad that 14 men died. It's extremely unusual. Alright, so check this out.
Is claiming that their military sources are reporting that there was a confrontation between a U.S. submarine and a Russian submarine, and that it resulted in the U.S. submarine being hit by a torpedo. First reports reaching Debka Files military sources say that a U.S. submarine intercepted a Russian nuclear sub in American waters opposite Alaska. The Russian sub escorting the nuclear submarine responded with a Balkan 2000 torpedo and scuttled the U.S. vessel.
So basically they saying Russia, that bear, had to put hands on America real quick. Now, this news came out like 2 days ago. Brother Wakari Plum sent me something, and we've been waiting to see if there will be any type of confirmation on any of this, and nothing has come out. Like, no information has come out. So these are just rumors right now, but it's extremely juicy and intriguing. Okay.
Urgent consultations in both the White House and the Kremlin were taking place on Tuesday night. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence called off an appearance in New Hampshire after being recalled to Washington for a conference called by President Donald Trump without explanation. Russian President Vladimir Putin canceled an engagement and headed for the Kremlin to confer with Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and military chiefs after learning that 14 submariners died in a fire that broke out on the nuclear-powered experimental submarine in Russian waters. This account, carried in Russian media, varies in most respects from the first reports reaching this site and may refer to a separate incident. They report between 14 and 17 members of an AS-12 nuclear-powered submarine died of poisonous fumes caused by a fire aboard the vessel. The submarine was described as experimental and unarmed, but often used in spy missions. It is unclear how many of the 25 crew survived. At this point, we have zero confirmation of Debka's report. Could it be possible that Debka got this completely wrong? We shall see.
Boom. So basically Mike Pence, who's the vice president, was scheduled to have a speech and it was called off abruptly. And, there's no telling what they actually talked about. They said that 2 weeks or weeks from now, it's supposed to come out exactly what happened. Why would it take 2 weeks, And it makes me think about Psalms 142. It says, let's start at 1. Scripture says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Say, lie. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purposed to overthrow my goings." Now, I'm hinging on continually are they gathered together for war, man. And it does seem like they're having all of these councils, what they're pushing out in the media. They're definitely, something is amiss. Something is amiss, man. And so we might be on the cusp of some good action, man. But it's all up to Yahweh Shem Shah when and where everything is going to go down, man. But we know that there is going to be wars and rumors of wars, right?
Meanwhile, we do know that Israel has continued to strike Iranian targets inside Syria. Debka is reporting that the Israelis hit a total of 10 targets early on Monday. One of Israel's largest attacks is reported by Syrian sources to have swept across 10 targets across the country early Monday, July 1st. They included Damascus Metzah military airport, Iranian and Hezbollah military facilities at Al-Qiswa south of Damascus, the base of the Syrian 1st Division. The Syrian Military Research Institute at Jumraya military facilities at Sinaiah.
Now, we all know the scripture, Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he had purposed against Edom, and his purposes that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And we see all the propaganda that's being pushed by the state of Israel. Okay. Now they talked about. Let me just keep reading. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pains. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, and they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble and turned herself to flee, and fear hath seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. And that's what's getting ready to come around Damascus again, man. In and around Damascus, where you have Syrian units which are supported by Iran, the state of Israel, the least of the flock, is drawing out all the heathen nations to gather together for war. And that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing perpetual war, man, in and around Damascus and all up and down in Syria. So the prophecy is coming alive when we see these things and when we hear this news.
As well as bases in the Homs district. The attacks were said to have been conducted by Israeli jets from Lebanese airspace and naval vessels. Syrian sources reported that 4 people were killed in the attack, and its air defense systems intercepted some of the incoming Israeli missiles. They described powerful explosions and huge fires at Iranian Revolutionary Guards and Hezbollah bases in the Kalamon Mountains, and ambulances streaming to the scene. There have been persistent rumors that the US and Israel are both moving toward taking military action against Iran's nuclear program, and at this point it appears that even the Europeans are losing patience. The following comes from a joint statement that was released by France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the European External Action Service. The foreign ministers of France, Germany, the UK, and the High Representative are extremely concerned at Iran's announcement that it has exceeded the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action stockpile limit for low-enriched uranium. The International Atomic Energy Agency has confirmed this information. We have been consistent and clear that our commitment to the nuclear deal depends on full compliance by Iran. We regret this decision by Iran, which calls into question an essential instrument of nuclear non-proliferation. We urge Iran to reverse this step and to refrain from further measures that undermine the nuclear deal.
This morning, Iran stated that they are not going to reverse these steps and that they're going to proliferate as much as they want. So you have 2 conflicting issues that's happening, because France, Germany, and the UK, they still conduct business with Iran. Why? Because Iran has good quality oil, and it's cheaper for them to use and buy and get. And so economically, working with Iran makes sense for these nations, but geopolitically things are starting to get tight. So there's a tug of war happening on the geopolitical spectrum versus the economic spectrum. If this leads into some type of an assault, I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. So this is very interesting. Everything that's going down, and it's a lot that we see in the news.
We are urgently considering next steps under the terms of the JCPOA in close coordination with other JCPOA participants. We do live in a time of wars and rumors of wars.
Look at that.
And as I noted yesterday, it may already be too late to stop war with Iran. Let's hope that isn't true, but without a doubt,
it is true. I mean, you got these guys that are Christians. They read the scriptures. We already know what's about to happen, baby. It's already plugged in. You know, I want to play this clip right here because this is just fresh off the presses. So it looks like, you know, war with Iran is ramping up very quickly.
Tanker on an unconventional route. The giant ship was stopped by authorities as it passed Gibraltar, a British-controlled outcrop on the southern tip of Spain. It was British Royal Marines who halted the ship, suspecting that it was on its way to Syria. Iran's foreign ministry summoned the British ambassador to voice what it called its very strong objection to the illegal and unacceptable seizure of its ship. US National Security Advisor John Bolton applauded the interception via Twitter.
Excellent news. The UK has detained the supertanker Grace 1 laden with Iranian oil bound for Syria in violation of EU sanctions. America and our allies will continue to prevent regimes in Tehran and Damascus from profiting off this illicit trade.
The European Union has imposed sanctions on some...
They call something illicit. It's just ridiculous. It's just regular business. And this is showing you that America is Babylon the Great too.
300 Syrian officials and entities since 2011. The sanctions target Bashar al-Assad's regime for carrying out what EU officials call violent repression against civilians. Among the entities targeted are government-owned oil facilities like the Banyas refinery. The sanctions have left the government-controlled parts of Syria short of fuel. Iran has remained a key ally of the regime and a source of oil, but US sanctions on the Islamic Republic have further complicated the picture. This may explain why the tanker took the long route around Africa and through the Strait of Gibraltar in an alleged attempt to make it to Syria's Mediterranean coast.
Look at it.
This route avoids the Suez Canal, which is controlled by Egypt, a US ally. But the tanker's unusual journey did not escape US attention. Spain, which challenges British ownership of Gibraltar, said the action was prompted by a US request to Britain and appeared to have taken place.
See, the US instructed Great Britain to seize this tanker, showing you that the United States is running these nations, man. It's telling everybody what to do, okay? This goes back and reminds me of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse, we can start at verse 20. You know what? Yeah, verse 28. It says, "Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath." The Carmanians be Iranians. Those Iranians are Persians. "Raging in wrath shall go forth as wild boars from the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature." And this is why you see Iran and Syria too, man. That whole region. "And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and then they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee." Okay? So, but, you know, basically, you skip down to verse 35, it says, "And they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, and even their own star, and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly." Alright, and so we're seeing all types of skirmishes ramp up. This is very exciting times prophetically. I'm just gonna keep my eye on it, you know, and I know you brothers will too. So you know, I just wanted to bring that news out, kind of go over those clips. If there's more, we'll go live maybe into algo, but for right now we're just gonna see what happens, man, and report on the things that are interesting, man. Hey, call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rakakadash. Double honors once again to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you brothers out there who are consistently and persistently pushing the word sincerity and truth. Shalom.
More on this. Iran has responded to the terrorists the U.S. sees in their oil tanker. They are suggesting, hey, over there in the Sea of Hormuz, why don't we, or the Sea of Oman, I think? Sea of Hormuz, Sea of Oman. They're suggesting, hey, well, why don't we just seize your oil tankers too, you motherfucking dicks. So anyways, this is from Jason Unruh. He's somebody who actually brings truth out and hasn't given me a strike, and I've used his videos on numerous occasions.
2 days ago, the UK Royal Marines confiscated a ship which they claim was carrying illegally oil to Syria that had come from Iran. Now, the ship was sailing under a Panama flag, but it was also a registered company inside of Singapore. The ship is accused of delivering crude oil to Syria in violation of sanctions against Damascus. The territory is generally considered to be under Spanish rule. Madrid, who welcomed the move, said that the Royal Marines were acting on behalf of the U.S. government, saying that it was carrying Iranian oil. U.S. officials have publicly supported the actions. The detained ship had a 28-person crew, mostly Indians, but also some Pakistanis and Ukrainians. They are being interviewed as witnesses, not criminal suspects, Gibraltar officials said. The authorities are currently working to establish the nature of the cargo and its destination. Now, as a result of this, Iran had summoned the ambassador from the UK to discuss the matter. Now, they called it an act of piracy and a destructive step. Now, the Foreign Ministry spokesman, Abbas Mousavi, argued that the sanctions against Syria are illegal, and thus, as a result, Iran does not recognize them. The next day, Major General Mohsen Rezaei of Iran's Revolutionary Guard sent out a tweet suggesting that Iran should seize a British ship if the UK government does not release their tanker. Should Britain refuse to release the ship, it is the authorities' duty to seize a British oil tanker, he argued. Now, this is very much obviously Britain carrying out the role of imperialism in the world. Now, they have placed sanctions against Damascus, which are illegal under international law, and thus nobody is obligated to actually enforce them, which would include Iran. However, Iran feels that they can send oil or crude oil to the country, which could then be refined and used in the efforts to defeat ISIS and the U.S.-backed terrorists inside the country. No doubt this is definitely a power play by the United States to place further pressure on Damascus now that their backed forces inside the country are failing. The al-Nusra Front, funded and controlled by the United States, and also as well Israel and Saudi Arabia, have been on the defensive for some time now, are on the verge of absolute collapse. And this goes with the Islamic State as well, something the United States is also responsible for the creation of. And also, this is another move intended to provoke Iran, as the United States has completely acted in a dishonorable manner, unilaterally withdrew from the JCPOA agreement, has repeatedly accused Iran of violating the agreement, which has been certified not only by the European partners, but by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which watches over these things. Iran is not was never in violation of those rules. And now the United States has placed new pressures on Iran, trying to destabilize the country because the previous sanctions had not worked. Now, it's very clear that this is another attempt to provoke Iran into carrying out some kind of act that the U.S. could use as a justification for war. We saw previously Iran was baselessly accused of attacking a Japanese oil tanker, which even the Japanese government says wasn't Iran. Even the guy who owned the company who owned the oil tanker said that it was not Iran, but that they could not yet figure out who had actually carried out the attack, but they had no reason to believe that it was Iran. What we're seeing here is a repeated pattern of behavior by the United States and now by the UK as well, in order to try to provoke Iran into a confrontation which that it can then use as a pretext for going to war against the Islamic State. And this is because Iran has held out against U.S. imperialism, one of the main things for dealing with war in the U.S. is justifying it to the American people and saying that the U.S.'s allies and the people who are supposedly in league with us, like the U.K., are defending them and helping them is a reason for trying to go to war against the country. Claiming that Iran has been attacking Saudi assets really hasn't motivated the population of the U.S. to want to go to war. Generally, the U.S. population doesn't feel like dying for Saudi oil profits. So it seems like a new kind of justification for the war is needed. And that's exactly what we're looking at in this situation.
And that's just it, though, is, again, nobody believes the fucking government anymore. Most people know that going to war with Iraq was a mistake, and admits to that mistake that Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction, unlike what George W. Bush had lied to them about. Man, the morale for wanting to go to war just ate there, so they got to come up with some sort of new lie. They try to use this lie, saying that Syria, Bashar al-Assad is using weapons against his own people. You know, the propaganda machine, but less people believe that. In fact, they took to the streets on the 4th of July, and they burned that Yankee swastika right in front of the White House. They're like, fuck you, White House. Fuck you, Donald Trump. You know, fuck you. I ain't gonna do what you tell me. Kind of reminds me of Woodstock 99, when there was a group that does that song Killing in the Name of, which is all about these wars. And the song goes on to say, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. And they burn the flag on stage. And kind of funny, though, Woodstock 50th anniversary, they're actually going to have another Woodstock show this year. I wonder how many more flags will be burned in that. Man, what you're seeing is uprisings of the people, man. They are sick and fucking tired of this shit. And so while there was uprisings of the people, get into the next part, famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. There was an earthquake on the 4th of July, and people are fucking scared. Check this out. These terrorists are fucking bracing for impact for the aftershocks. Yeah, I just love watching these places burn. I fucking hate you goddamn fucking Edomites. And last year, Car Fire happened. It was fun to see my enemies burn. But wait, there's more. Yep, racing for impact. And look, oh boy, San Andreas. Didn't they just make a movie about it a few years ago? I think so. I'm ready to die for this thing. Because I live here in fucking California, and I fucking hate it here. And I hate everything about Babylon the Great, so, yeah, man, you know, hey, at least I know if one comes and I happen to die in it, I really... You know, I know that I've served my purpose, which is to glorify Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, to proclaim His truth on the streets. I know I've at least fulfilled that. And this is from a brother I know from GMS Enduring Truth. I believe that's his channel. GMS Enduring Faith, I think. GMS Enduring Faith. Anyways, he's a brother that I met who used to teach in San Francisco and now teaching in Sacramento and Reno. Man, yeah, it's just about how fucking America, Babylon the Great, has lost its fucking uniting. People didn't unite for the 4th of July like they used to, man. In fact, a lot of people oppose this fucking piece of shit. They fucking hate it. And I'm not talking about Jakes or the 2/3 here. I'm talking about the fucking Edomites themselves fucking hate America.
All right, Shalom. All the praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Harachakodash. I also want to give double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honors to all you fellow laborers that are kicking this word with sincerity and in faith. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Harachakodash, Barakatham. To all you sincere listeners. All right, so the name of the lesson is America is divided and has lost its luster. Because yesterday was 4th of July, and hey, Esau didn't even have a good time, man. Because this is supposed to be, Esau's time to celebrate, cook out, and they having hot dog eating contests, and they glory in the slaughter, really the slaughter of the so-called American Indians and the enslavement of the so-called black men. Because that's how America was established. Yet Esau is trying to have a good time. A lot of our people too, who are totally oblivious to what America is really about. And Heavenly Father brought storms in certain cities. Okay, he brought an earthquake in Southern California, and the prophets were out, all across the country. So he might have been on the way to try to enjoy himself or herself, and then they see the prophets condemning this place that they love so much. And what was happening in Washington, D.C., man, it was a showcase of the state of America and the division which is in America. So I'm going to play a couple of these videos. I'm just hit a few precepts, and I pray it's edifying. See, and this is the truth about America, and Esau can't take it, because this is what America's really about. America's really about the enslavement of the Israelites, and then pretty much the exploitation of the Israelites and all these other nations, including other Edomites. That's what America's really about, you being a slave. And so you have a lot of people who are waking up to this fact. Right, you got Edomites. You got a lot of Edomites who are in these crowds, man. It ain't just Jake or it ain't just the other nations. You got Edomites that know. Even Edomites are frustrated with America. Right, he said we're standing with the people of the world today, because when you examine how America really works, America is only able to prosper because of the oppression of the rest of the world. That's why the goods come in so cheap. Okay, that's why America has maintained a so-called first world status, because of the pillaging and the oppression of all these other nations. So that's why the dude said that he might say we stand with the people of the world. And that's why, hey, these other nations, they're not going to feel no type of way when they shoot missiles over here, because you Americans, for the most part, you don't care. You don't care what's going on in these other nations. As long as you cool, okay, you can go and you can have a great time. Okay, you can hop in your car, go to the grocery store, cook out, drink, do all these things. You're not concerned about what's happening. So these other nations, they're not going to be concerned when this place really hits rock bottom, which, hey, it's on the way, man.
Yeah, but these are Americans right here, man. These are Americans. This is what America's about, man. You see, Americans are divided. Americans are divided more than ever. When I say Americans, I'm primarily focusing on you red people, Edomites who call yourself white people. And this one had me dying. And I look at this. Hey, you see, it's Esau, man. It's a bunch of Edomites. Hey, because, for the most part, Jake was chilling, drinking, barbecue and stuff like that. But these Edomites, they're really upset about the state of America, man. Hey, because these Edomites, they feel that this is they're looking at it like this is our country. And look, our country is going down the toilet. All these so-called immigrants, these illegal aliens coming up here. All these black people want to take over everything. Hey, like what's happening with I think it's a Little Mermaid. You got a support group, like a different Facebook groups advocating that an Edomite be the lead star because it's going to be a young Israelite woman, a young Judite woman. So everybody is tired of Esau. Nobody wants Esau to be at the forefront no more. So Esau is lashing out, man, even against his own kind. So this is the book of Mark 3:24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. And that's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the end of America. And these people, they pretty much understand what's going on. That's why Esau's in the uproar. That's why Esau's fighting. They're fighting for the control of America. Okay, in their mind, okay, well, where's America going to go? Because they see that this place is crumbling. That's why when you saw them, the Proud Boys, they had the hats, MAGA, Make America Great Again, which indicates what? That America's not great. That America's only getting worse. And these Edomites, they're seeing it, and they're frustrated, and they're taking out their frustration with each other, having a little protest, little mini mosh pit. Hey, because they're divided against themselves. This is the book of Job 12:23. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. And what the Heavenly Father is doing is he's straightening the nation of Edom. Yeah, like the brother said, Brother San Diego, it's a blessing to see the fall of our enemies, which is true. Yeah, because we're actually living in the downfall of America. Whenever I go out, and I'm sure you brothers can testify as well, you see a bunch of destitute Edomites, man. You see a bunch of Edomites that are just down and out, derelict, looking decrepit. And that's a beautiful thing, man. Because the Heavenly Father, what is he doing? He's destroying the nation of Edom. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. Yeah, because Esau at one time was increased. He was increased with riches. He was glorified all around the world. But now everybody's looking at him correctly as the devil, the Bible speaks of. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. And that's what the Heavenly Father is doing. He's putting Esau in a very difficult position. And Esau don't know what to do, man. And Esau's getting just bombarded with his truth, man. To the point where it's not even controversial to speak about how America was founded on genocide and slavery. Before say Farrakhan or some other so-called black leader like Malcolm X, we call a white man a devil. That's not controversial anymore. You call a white man a devil. That's becoming mainstream, man. And guess what? Beginning to become mainstream as well. Edomites. Hey, because you go on a comment board to any of these videos dealing with Esau, doing something with Jacob, just Esau acting a fool amongst themselves, you're going to see people talking about Esau or Edomites, man. that's the time that we're in. We're in a time of the exposure of Esau and his downfall. And really, he's destroying himself. We don't need to do anything. All we need to do is continue to preach his word. And Heavenly Father is just destroying this man, messing his mind up. This is Isaiah 19:2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Right, and this is the Egyptians against the Egyptians right here. That burning American flags, which America is for them. America is actually for them. And if you're a so-called white man in America, man, this is pretty much your heaven. But you protesting your king. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight, everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. That's right, man. So you see that, man. You see these Edomites going at each other. And then these Edomites, these Americans here, they're catching flack from them Edomites across the ocean. Them Edomites in Europe, them Edomites in Australia. So you Edomites here in America, man, y'all are the scum of the earth, man. The scum of the scum. And everybody's looking at y'all as such, man. Yeah. He said, I know a female who's bugged out and she even called a white person the Edomite. That's right, man. See, this truth is out. Everybody knows about Israel. It seems about every time go out on the highways and hedges, somebody will be driving and say, hey, Shalom. Or they say Shalom. Or they say, oh, Hebrew Israelites. Everybody knows what time it is, man. We're actually at the end, man. Any moment now, there could be a false flag attack or there could be some uprising. And the society can just be shut down, man. But I just wanted to touch on that. You know, the videos had me dying, man. Because this is Esau fighting against Esau, man. I'll play this one again. Look at him. Look at Esau, man. Esau through, man. Esau done. All right, so yeah, I pray the lesson is edifying. I didn't want to make it too long. I want to highlight the state of America, and I know all of y'all felt it yesterday. That pro-America spirit is in the trash, man. This place is done. You read Hebrew Edomites. You had your run. Okay, your kingdom has already peaked, and now it's in a precipitous decline, man. All right, so all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, you know, for showing you read Hebrew Edomites in America. And we're finally going to go home soon. Yahweh Ratazah. All right, so.
And that's just it, though, man. Making sure a call to election is sure, because we want to get the fuck out of here. Fuck this place. And this is an article I picked up from Zero Hedge. The aftermath of California's massive back-to-back quakes. This wasn't even the big one. Since Thursday, Southern California has been hit with a series of earthquakes and aftershocks all the way up to two that measured 6.4 and a whopping 7.1 magnitude. The epicenter of both quakes was near the town of Ridgecrest, with a population of nearly 29,000 people. On the 4th of July, the strongest earthquake in 20 years struck, with the epicenter in the Mojave Desert. The earthquake registered as 6.4 on the Richter scale. The trembler resulted in cracked roads, leaking gas lines, house fires, and multiple injuries. And you fucking goddamn Edomites fucking deserve it. You know. Yeah, man, San Bernardino County firefighters reported cracked buildings and a minor injury. There were reports of trailers burning at mobile home and State Route 178 in Kern County was closed by rock slide and roadway damage. And I've been through San Bernardino. I used to actually live in San Bernardino. Man, that town is nothing but fucking wasteland, man. Ain't nothing but fucking drugs everywhere. Fucking opioids, everything, man. Fucking goddamn red Hebrew Edomites don't know what to do with themselves because the economy's been in the toilet, man. The fucking place sucks, you know. And it's just, ain't nothing but wasteland out there. And you fucking red Hebrew Edomites deserve every bit of it. You know, that's why I rejoiced when Car Fire came. Even though, yeah, sure, you know, I could have been evacuated. But I also knew I was doing the work of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So, you know, I was still praying, yeah, let this pass me by, you know. But punish Babylon. Wah, ba, 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 I was saying. And still wars and rumors of wars. And this is from Gubbard. War with Iran far more devastating than Iraq war. So this is actually a presidential candidate saying that it'd be far worse. U.S. Congresswoman and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard has warned that a war with Iran would be far more devastating for America than the Iraq war ever was, warning that President Trump is pushing us closer and closer to war with the Islamic Republic. In an interview with the CBS News on Saturday, Gabbard blasted U.S. President Trump for withdrawing from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. And believe it or not, that's what actually is sparking this whole thing. I think there were some flaws right now with it, but ultimately when it came down to it, that nuclear agreement prevented war. And that's the danger of what the Trump administration is doing right now, pushing us closer and closer to war with Iran by ripping up that deal. So again, pretty much. And she said more. By expanding U.S. military presence in the region, they basically set the dynamite fuse and lit it for another war that will be far more devastating than what we saw throughout Iraq, the war that I served in, she added. Yeah, well, Iran is not like Iraq. Iraq couldn't even take out Iran because Iran's 3 times the size of Iraq, and like everything else, though, the people of Iran are on the side of Iran. They're not divided like Iraq and Syria. Although Syria was never divided, the people in Syria right now that are causing the tensions are all fucking pieces of shit from Saudi Arabia and Turkey and all the other places that took a deal with the devil, with Esau Edom. And that's why there's a division there. And of course, it was just so for the Greater Israel Project. That's what the people are being drawn in. The least of the flock drawing them out into this war. The Greater Israel Project, which is really Amalek. So we are talking about that final hour. So what better place than to get right into this prophecy, which we're seeing the beginnings of it. But nonetheless, though, this will be the same day and the same hour that Babylon the Great is judged. Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 1, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap, by way of the nuclear missiles. The cities of Aurora are forsaken. They shall be for flocks which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress shall also cease from Ephraim, which can literally represent Israel, because you got to deal with the rest of this verse. And the kingdom from Damascus, which is Syria, and the remnant of Syria, they shall be as the glory of the children of Yashar'Allah, saith the Most High of hosts. Which pretty much, at that same time, man, that same day, that same hour that Babylon the Great is destroyed, also Syria is going to be destroyed, because all these nations that put us in captivity are going to be destroyed. And it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin. That's talking about the 2/3 that are going to be cut off. And the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. It's talking about how, 2/3 will be cut off. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn and reapeth the ears with his arm, and it shall be as he gathereth the ears in the valley of Ephraim. Yet gleaning grapes should be left in it. That's talking about the 1/3, the elect of us. And pretty much, check this out. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outermost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Most High, Yahweh of Israel. And again, pretty much, though, it's going to be a beautiful kingdom, but 2/3 are not going to enjoy it on this side. No, they're going to have to be rebirthed to us. And it shall come... Okay, verse 7. At that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Yashar'Allah. Again, all the nations are going to actually bow down. And he shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, neither shall respect that which his fingers had made, either the grooves or the images. Again, man, a lot of these people ain't going to them whorehouses anymore, because they know that this is a farce. That, man, the Most High doesn't dwell in these places. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bow. Again, just talking about, Amalek, all of them, man. They're pretty much, man, it'll all be forsaken. And an uppermost branch, which they left because of the children of Yashala, and there shall be desolation. So pretty much, man, it's going to be a cleaning, man. Especially Edom's going to be destroyed, but also, that Syria, Damascus ceases in that day. Because thou hast forgotten the God of thy salvation, and hast not been mindful of the rock of thy strength. Therefore shall thou plant pleasant plants, and shall set it with strange slips. Again, man, look at the GMOs and shit, man. This place fucking sucks, man. But people still want to be here. I just don't understand why, except that I just have to, it's, you can't even eat healthy, man. The so-called organic stuff is still by the same people who put GMOs in food. In that day thou shalt make thy plant to grow, and in the morning thou shalt make thy seed to flourish, but the harvest shall be a heap in the day of grief and a desperate sorrow, man. A famine is fucking coming, man. And it's just right around the corner. We're at the very beginnings of this. Woe to the multitude of many people which make a noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing of nations that make a rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. Again, this is talking about Babylon the Great, the beast, all of it. The nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters, but Yahweh shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off. Yeah, because by way of the nuclear missiles, man, they're going to be broken. And shall be chased as the chaff of the mountains before the wind, and like a rolling thing before the whirlwind, which is talking about the thermonuclear destruction that shall happen. And behold, at evening tide trouble, and before the morning he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and the lot of them that rob us. Talking about you Idumeans, you fucking red Hebrew Edomites, Babylon the Great, all of you. This will be your portion. Fucking Babylon will be taken the same day, the same hour that Syria will be taken. So I hope all this has been edifying to the elect and to everyone else. Wah, ba, ba, ba. And I'd just like to say, Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Bashim Rakak to the Helash, Brakatham, and, well, as Apostle Tar says, on to the next one. Shalom.